Hi, my name is Alexa and welcome to my channel Sandals and Steel-Toes. Today I'm going to be up-potting my tomato seedlings and sharing with you which tomato varieties that I'm going to be growing this year in my 2022 garden. Appropriately for 2022, I am growing 22 tomato varieties this year. Now in 2021, I really upped the ante for myself and I grew 40 different varieties of tomatoes because I really wanted to find out what were the tomatoes that I preferred the most and which grew the best in my garden here in Northeast Ohio, which is in Zone 6A. So after testing and trying out a lot of tomatoes, I narrowed down the favorites that I preferred the best, but because I couldn't help myself, I also got some new varieties this year to try out as well. As I'm talking through all the different varieties today that we'll be growing this year, I will let you know if this was one of the varieties that I grew in my 2021 garden. And if you're interested, you can check out my tomato taste test review series. It's a 4-part video series that I go over each of the varieties of tomatoes that I grew last year. I had 40 varieties that we grew and get a taste test review on them. So you can get an idea if that's something that you may want to try out in your own gardens. So it is a beautiful spring morning here in Ohio. I am so excited that we have some nice weather finally. It seems like spring has taken a long time to arrive. We've had a couple teaser days, which got me excited, but it's been pretty cold and I think we're finally on the upswing to where it's planting season. And I have kicked my chickens out of my garden so I can start getting my cold weather crops, all those things that really do well in cooler temperatures like broccoli and cabbage, cauliflower, any kind of greens, lettuce, kale, collards. I have all that stuff I've been waiting to put out in my garden, but my chickens have been living out there through the whole winter and we just got them back in their summer home, their summer pen area. My priority for this morning is to start at least getting these tomato seedlings separated. Now I started these about 4 weeks ago and I just put a lot of seeds in one container. So like each variety that I'm growing has a different container here with all the seedlings in them. And so I will be separating each one of these and up-potting them into their own singular pot. And these are 2-inch pots. So we are still about another 6 to 7 weeks out before I can safely plant my tomatoes out in the garden. Tomatoes are frost tender, so we will still inevitably have some frosty nights here through May, and I need to make sure that my tomatoes are being well protected. So after I up-pot these, I'm probably going to take them back into my house. I have a grow shelf where I keep all my frost tender seedlings with some lights, and I'll take those back in there probably for about another 2, maybe 3 weeks until I feel confident that the overnight temperatures are not getting too cold, because this is an unheated greenhouse and there are a lot of cracks and drafts in here, and I am not going to run a space heater because I don't think it's cost efficient to run a space heater when all of the heat's just going to dissipate really quickly. This is not a sealed greenhouse by any means, lots of drafts and cracks. So I have to keep my tomatoes very safe until all threats of frost has passed, and for us that is really close to Memorial Day weekend. And I know in some more southern states you may be okay to get away with planting sooner. However, for us here up in the north and where I'm located specifically, I'm about 3 miles away from Lake Erie, so we get a lot of just crazy weather patterns just because of the lake, and I need to take care that my little tomatoes here don't freeze. So we'll keep them in the house for a little bit longer, and then once I feel good, I'll bring everything back out here to the greenhouse to finish up growing before it actually gets transplanted out. So the first 4 tomatoes I'm going to talk about are red slicing tomatoes. These are your big, red, good sandwich making kind of tomatoes. So we've got the Mortgage Lifter, Castelluto Genovese, German Pink, and then these ones I saved from last year, but the Trip L crop. And so each of those 4 kinds of slicing tomatoes I grew last year, so you can check those out on the review video, and I really enjoyed each one of them. They had good flavor, they were really big, and they were perfect for making tomato sandwiches, slicing into salads. I really enjoyed each one of those, and they also did really well to grow in my garden here. Got a productive crop on them, so I was definitely interested in growing them again. And the seedlings are all doing pretty good as well. So here's the mortgage lifters, Castelluto Genovese, and these ones are really cool because they are fluted. They're like got the ridges around the tomatoes, so I really love the way that these ones look. Triple crop was probably one of my favorite ones that I grew. It was very prolific. It did excellent in my garden. So this one I'm very excited to grow again. And then the German pink, these were just huge tomatoes. They were huge. They were like the perfect color, the perfect like reddish pink color. I really enjoyed growing these. Okay, so the next 2 are the yellow tomatoes that I'm gonna grow. I have the Dr.Wyches and a Kellogg's Breakfast. Again, I saved seeds from what I had last year. And so Dr.Wyches and both Kellogg's Breakfast, those are extremely sweet tomatoes. Yellow tomatoes are just known to have less acidity, and they are higher in the sugar content. They are a perfect tomato if you want to eat a tomato for breakfast. Like, you're gonna want to have either of those because they are super sweet. They remind me of a melon. I mean, tomatoes are a fruit, and so those 2 varieties definitely tell me this is a fruit, right? So I really enjoyed both of those, and they're growing again in the garden. So here they're the babies. And yeah, the Dr.Wyches is like huge. Look how big it is compared. It's doing good. So very happy with these. And I did try some other yellow varieties. I just didn't care for them as much. Those 2 I like the best. And those are also going to be like those big slicing tomatoes. I will note that both of those varieties were extremely juicy. Like, they had just tons of water content in them, but it was a good match with the sugar levels. So it wasn't like overwhelming, but they are a messy tomato, so I will just throw that out there. So the next 2 are green tomatoes, striped tomatoes. Both of these I've never tried before. These were recommendations from you guys from the taste test review videos. The Green Giant was one that was recommended, so I've not tried this one before, but it looks pretty cool. I really like the color of it, and these stay green. They don't turn red. The seed packet, and most of my seeds are from Baker Creek. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. So this one says most productive, best tasting tomato in our trials, large 1 pound, emerald green fruit, sweet and juicy. So very excited to try this one out. And then the other one I have, it doesn't have a picture on the packet. It's the Ananas Noir. I may be saying that wrong, but it's a striped tomato. So it's one of those kinds that has like the red and green striped variegated kind of tomato. We got some good roots coming off the bottoms here. So the Green Giant, it's holding true to its name. I mean, even at this stage of life, look how much bigger it is compared to the Noir. It is probably like a whole inch taller already, and all of these are being grown in the same conditions, so maybe that's a foreshadow of how well those are gonna do. So I only have 2 kinds of like the green and the stripe because I didn't really care for them a whole lot last year with the other kinds that I grew, but some of you did encourage me and say try these ones, they're the best, so I'm gonna try them and see if I like them. Okay, so the next 2 are some of my favorites. I definitely have grown these before, so check these out in the review video. The Indigo Apple and the Dark Galaxy. So I have the packets here. This is the Indigo Apple, and this is the Dark Galaxy. So the Indigo apples are smaller, on the smaller side of the tomatoes, but they have these beautiful deep red and going into a purple. I mean, the name is indigo, so going into a purple coloration. And they remind me of plums. From the first year I grew them, I just really like them, and I tell people, even my son Anthony, who is, both my boys are picky eaters when it comes to veggies, but Anthony, who didn't really care for tomatoes, he really liked the Indigo apple just because this one was really sweet, but it also just, it tasted more like a plum. So this is actually my favorite tomato that I've ever grown, and it will always have a place in my garden. So that's the Indigo apple. And the other one is Dark Galaxy. This one is just really cool. Again. So it's that really like deep dark red with like purple variegation streaks through it, but it also has these white cream color flecks that go all throughout the flesh, and so it looks like stars, and it's just a really cool tomato to grow. This one, I bought the seeds from Baker Creek, but it was released from Brad Gates. And just reading the packet, a delicious galactic beauty bearing a 2 to 8 ounce fruit, flattened with red and orange stripes, random speckles, and layered by deep blue. So it's just a really cool tomato. I've grown this for the last couple years and have done pretty well with them and really enjoy them. So here are the babies. Both are looking good. All these seedlings desperately needed to be up potted though, because they need more space. And I found that my taste preference goes more towards the darker tomatoes, like more of the deep red, the deep purple tomatoes. So I am growing 2 black tomatoes, and they're not actually black, but they look pretty black. They're just a really, really, really dark purple. And when you see any kind of fruit or vegetable that's so deep dark purple, it means there's anthocyanin in it. And so why does that matter, and what are they good for? The anthocyanin is the pigment that's found in these plants. And also carrots can have them if you've seen any kind of really dark carrot. Any fruit or vegetable that has like black, purple, blue, or really deep red colors all have anthocyanin. And they're rich in antioxidants and are known to be anti-inflammatory and help boost the immune system. They're really good for you. I'm growing the Black Beauty, which has been a revered favorite by so many gardeners. I did try to grow it last year, and the plant did not do very well. I think that was more of a me issue, that the space in my garden that this plant grew in just didn't have the best conditions. I needed a lot of soil amending this year, so my chickens helped me with that over the winter. So I think I'll be in a better place this year for some of my tomatoes. So we're gonna do Black Beauty again. This is a new one to me. This is called the Black Sea Man tomato. And so this packet is indeterminate, from 1930s heirloom, was first brought to America from the Ukraine. The plants produce roughly 1 pound tomatoes that are perfectly round, blemish-free, and are deep burgundy in color. The flavor of the Black Sea Man tomato is rich, with flavorful hints of pineapple and tropical fruit. Plants are good producers all season long, and this is M.I. Gardener's top-selling tomato. So when I read the description online last year, I was really into trying this one. And I do think it's kind of special too that I'm growing this, since it is an heirloom that was brought to America from the Ukraine. Did not know that when I bought it, or was even thinking about what's going on in Ukraine and the war in Ukraine right now. And so, you know, I'm happy to kind of grow this tomato in honor of them. And I hope I do it proud. Okay, so here's the Black Beauty and the Black Sea Man. Wow, and there's a really big seedling in there, so they're happy little plants. So moving on, we're going to be talking about the cherry tomatoes. So I am going to grow 5 different kinds. I've gone a little overboard last year with the number of cherry tomatoes. I mean, cherry tomatoes are so prolific, and if you're just a home gardener and you're not trying to like preserve or feed a big family, you only need like 1, maybe 2 cherry tomato plants. They kind of take over, and it can be hard to keep up with them all. So just keep that in mind. What are your goals and needs for growing tomatoes? If you want to have all the cherry tomatoes in the world, then grow lots of plants. But I narrowed my choices down to 5 this time. And again, just my favorites, but I did pick a couple new ones. So first on the list here is the Berries Crazy Cherry. This one is super prolific. I grew these last year. They were delicious. These were just super sweet. They reminded me of a white wine, and I just really enjoy these, and the plants are super prolific. I mean, you see the picture there? That's as packed as they actually get. Okay, next I have the pink bumblebee. This was one of my favorites from last year as well. These are really big cherry tomatoes, like this big. I don't know. Go watch the review video. Very good in flavor. I prefer, for like more of a red kind of traditional cherry tomato, I preferred these ones more, just like the regular red sweetie cherries that you find in lots of gardening centers and such. They were just really kind of bland to me and they didn't give a lot of flavor, but this pink bumblebee will meet that need that I'm looking for in a cherry tomato. And then I have the blue creamberries. Again, this is another one of my favorites that I decided to grow again this year. My friend Carol introduced me to these last year, and I will keep growing these. These were, again, very sweet cherry tomatoes. They are yellow with a purple blushing on them, and they were excellent. And then I'm growing two new kinds. So this one is called the Isis Candy Cherry. And the packet says it's a favorite of kids, round 1-inch fruit in varying shades and blush patterns of reds to yellows, outstandingly sweet. So the description got me, but why I picked this one is because my dog is named Isis. She's such a good girl, and whenever I see any kind of plant that's named after someone in my family or a pet in this case, I'm gonna buy it. So the Isis Candy Cherry is on the list to grow this year. Lastly, we have the black strawberry cherry tomato. And these just look beautiful. I mean, the color on them is spectacular. They're red and purple with yellow stripes. I don't know if you can quite tell. This is new to the Baker Creek catalog this year, so I wanted to definitely try this one. The description on here is a 1-ounce fruit, marbled blue, scarlet, and gold. A bowl full resembles a luminous bunch of gems, and the flavor is decadent and indulgent with perfect sweet and tart balanced flavor. Extremely productive early and an obvious choice for gardeners and market farmers. So very excited about growing this kind. Look at the roots on this one. This is the berries, crazy cherry, black strawberry, the blue creamberry, the Isis cherry. Forgot to show you the pink bumblebees. And so the last set of tomatoes are the paste tomatoes. So these were the ones, I'm growing 3 that I've grown previously, and then 2 new ones. My goal with the paste tomatoes is to use them for making sauce. Now I'll use all different kinds of tomatoes and just cook them down together, but I will intentionally grow more of the paste tomatoes because we like to cook and preserve, can our own sauce. So we have the Jersey Devil. This one is so much fun. I like the shape of it. It's like a banana pepper shape, but it's a paste tomato. I think it's really fun and exciting. They are pretty prolific, and it's a very meaty tomato, so not a lot of juice in it. Definitely a good one to grow. We have the Hungarian Heart. These were huge. On the review videos, I talk about the Hungarian Heart, and the one in the example was like this big. It was giant. I was so proud of that tomato. I took it around to couple different family members' house just to like show them how big it was. It was enormous. These aren't actually paste tomatoes. You know, they're called ox heart. For me, it works as a paste because they're super meaty and firm, so it just works really well in sauce. So you can consider an ox heart tomato as something that you can use for sauce making. We're gonna do the Amish paste. I really enjoyed this one. These were really big tomatoes, very meaty. I've heard from many gardeners for years that the Amish paste is like the tomato to use if you're canning. So I really enjoyed growing this last year. It did very well for me. The Amish paste is a great choice. And then the 2 new ones that we're doing. So I'm trying another yellow variety of paste tomato. This is new. This is the Chernobyl tomato. One specifically is a Virginia from the USA heirloom. You know, the description said it's perfect for canning and preserving, and it's also a good addition to sauces, salsas, and different pastes. So I'm excited to grow this. All right, and lastly, I don't have a pretty picture on the packet to show you, but I'll put one up. This is the Big Mama tomato. So this is a paste tomato. It's a hybrid. My mother-in-law, Gail, she got a hold of me a few months back, asked me to help find her seeds for the Big Mama variety, and she had read about it, but I'll just read the description so you can understand why. It is an enormous paste tomato, meaty, solid fruits with unusually high sugar levels. Spend less time coring and peeling. It's indeterminate and harvest about 80 days after transplanting. So again, we like to make sauce in this family. So I'm growing these for Gail, and I'm gonna grow some as well, and try these hybrid tomatoes. Pretty excited to see how these turn out, considering that it's saying it's an enormous paste tomato with really high sugar levels. I definitely think this will be a pretty cool one to try out and just see how it does. I'm very excited about this garden season and getting all of these tomato seedlings up potted. It will take me a little while to work through that. It'll probably take me a couple days at different intervals to get all of these done. I need to enlist some help, but I'm super excited. I'm just so honored to be able to share my garden with you all, encourage you all. You know, I've been really learning a lot about soil health and learning about food forestry and mixing diversity of plants together. So instead of having rows upon rows upon rows of just tomatoes, I'm gonna be putting tomatoes kind of all over the place in my garden, mixed in with other plant families, because what I've learned recently is that the plants, a tomato plant and a pepper plant or a cabbage plant, let's say, they come from different plant families, and their roots underground are going to talk to each other. They're going to mingle with each other. And the cabbage plant is going to be able to extract certain minerals from the ground that a tomato plant could not on their own. But together, those plants can talk and communicate and basically share minerals and uptake minerals and share them with each other, which those minerals are going to go back into the fruits that you're growing. It's going to go back into the vegetables. It's going to go back into the leaf that you're eating. So the more diversity of your plants grown in one spot, the better nutritional intake, mineral intake is going to be gained in that harvest. As much as I can share any little bit of knowledge that I know with you guys, I'm going to, and just encourage you to just try and grow something. Support all of your local gardeners, all of your local farmers who are really trying to make a difference in our food culture and our food society, and offering produce that is actually going to be beneficial for you. So I'll get off my soapbox. I just really wish you the best and look forward to continuing to share my garden with you this season. So I'd appreciate anyone who is interested to subscribe and come back and leave comments, and I will answer your questions and would love to hear your feedback. And please do something you love. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.